Today I messed up by convincing my niece that I used to be a Ghostbuster. Last weekend, my sister-in-law stayed with my wife and me. Her daughter, my niece, had a doctor's appointment early in the morning last Monday. I live much closer to the clinic than they do, so it made sense to crash at my place so they didn't have to get up at 5 a.m. Last Sunday night, we stuck with season's theme and watched a scary movie. We watched one of my childhood favorites, Ghostbusters. My niece loved it and stayed up late to see the whole thing. Some quick info: she's 5 years old. After the movie and a little before I went to bed, I heard my niece and Sil in my guest room. She was crying because my old house was setting for the night, making the ever-present creaking sounds. My niece thought they were ghosts coming to get her and her mom. So I knocked on the door and was let in. I asked what was wrong, and my niece told me about the ghost in my house. Thinking I was smart, I told her we didn't have any ghosts in my house because I already caught them all. I told her that her dad, my brother, and I used to be Ghostbusters, and we caught all the ghosts in our family's houses. She went from crying to total amazement instantly. "My dad was a Ghostbuster?" she exclaimed very loudly. "But they're not real. That's just a movie," she said. I told her that just like movies about cops and firefighters, there are also Ghostbusters, and that movie was about them. As this is going on, I see the face on my Sil, and she's giving me a look. So I wrapped up my bullshitting and told her there was nothing to worry about and it was safe to go to bed. They attended the appointment the following day, returned home, and continued with life. On to this morning. My brother called me a while ago to fill me in on the goings-on at his daughter's preschool. He seemed irritated. He's being asked to come in and talk about his work experience busting ghosts during his college years. Mrs. Doyle, the preschool teacher, wants me to go too because I was also a Ghostbuster, so we could tell war stories about our previous occupation. She can't be serious, I asked my brother. He said she is, and all the other kids are also excited to hear back from us. Apparently, my niece has the same talent for bullshitting that I do and convinced her teacher we were legit Ghostbusters who caught all the ghosts in our whole state. I truly don't believe the teacher seriously believes this. She has to be screwing with us. Regardless, for the sake of the kids I am now checking out cosplay sites and toy stores for proton packs. At least I'll have this year's Halloween costume picked out. Today I messed up by bringing drugs into the Pentagon. So a couple of years ago I started a new job working for a PR agency in another state. Heading into the holiday season, the agency scheduled a 3-day all-hands off-site meeting in Washington, D.C. which I was already dreading. At this point, I had only been with the company for less than 2 months and met other staff members just once before. For the final day of the off-site, the agency had arranged an all-day session at the Pentagon where they had arranged a number of speakers and then from there I would head directly to the airport. So given that this is early December in D.C., I packed my big puffy parka that I rarely wear in my home state of Portland given the relatively mild winters here. We arrive at the Pentagon and to get inside you need to go through a security screening, basically a greatly enhanced TSA experience. I'm the last person in our group in line and so I put my bags and jacket through the machine and as I'm waiting for my stuff, I see 2 security officers gather around my baggage. At which point, one of the security officers pulls out a glass pipe I hadn't seen in years from one of the many inside pockets and asks me if it's mine. I meekly tell her that it is indeed mine. Then she says, "So am I gonna find anything else?" And I look at her and squeak out, "Maybe E?" So she keeps digging around and then a few seconds later she dramatically pulls out a Ziploc bag with about an eighth of the most desiccated weed you have ever seen. I try and explain that where I'm from, weed is legal and that I must have stashed the bag/pipe in the jacket and forgotten about it. The gaggle of security officer grows to a half dozen and you can sense the excitement building as they separate me from my stuff and then place me in a small windowless office. Meanwhile the entire company is waiting for me just up ahead but I have no way to communicate with them since they took my phone. Because this is the Pentagon, they can only proceed to the designated meeting room until the whole group is together. Finally after about 30 minutes, one of the security guards summons me and they begin asking me a series of inane, circular questions. Why did you bring drugs into a federal facility? Are you aware that you're not allowed to bring marijuana into a federal building? Are you high right now? Are you sure you're not high? At this point I really started to think I might be arrested but finally they just told me that they were going to dispose of my contraband and sent me on my way to meet the rest of my group who still had no idea what had happened to me. So then I get to explain to a group of 20 co-workers why I had been detained, which was extra amusing as I was about 15 years older than every other employee. Most of them thought it was pretty funny. The agency owners were not so amused and I ended up getting laid off a couple months later right when the pandemic hit. Today I messed up by my 11 years old me. My 11-year-old self has destroyed my career apparently. I am currently being fired in my probation period as management stumbled upon my very old Facebook account that had some edgy politically incorrect posts. After a lot of back and forth and discussions, they told me to either delete the posts by the end of this week or they would be forced to let me go. Bear in mind that these posts were made when I was literally 11 years old. Anyway, I thought fair enough, I will just access my account and permanently delete it as to not be affected by it anymore. I first recovered my very old cringy named email that I was using as a kid. Second, I thought, is a very easy and simple solution. This turned about to be a dystopia nightmare. I found between the cracks of a fully automated system that will not accept any answer between a 1 and a 0. The Orwellian Facebook system demanded that I give them my papers to properly identify myself to them. Since literally my career and future is at stake, I reluctantly complied and provided my government-issued ID hoping for a speedy resolution of this nightmare. Unfortunately, the robot decided that it wants to reject all my IDs, stating that it could not identify my account. I tried every single trick in the book to reach a human, even purchasing an Oculus Quest so that the Meta customer support can help, but they stated that they cannot help with any Facebook-related issues whatsoever and to try the process with the relevant robot again, and nothing seems to work. As of now, I guess I will be let go due to a fuck-up I did when I was 11 years old. This is so surreal it's funny. Today I messed up by stripping in front of my boss while shaking dust off my chest. I wish I could reverse time or sink into a pit somewhere. This happened a few hours ago now that the mortification has gone down a bit. Normally, I am a very cautious person. I always have my camera off because I don't like worrying about someone seeing something they should not, or myself doing something and forgetting I am on camera. I am a hybrid WFH employee. Recently, my team has been pushing for everyone to be on camera for every call, so whenever I have calls with my manager for instance I make sure to take the camera sticker off. Now for the story. I recently finished my law degree and plan on moving to our legal team in the fall. In an effort to save money I have been doing prop commission to earn a little extra money on the side. During downtime at work I will sometimes sand some items, or draw sketches. Today I was doing a bit of sanding and ended up with a lot of foam dust all over my face, my shirt, and somehow underneath my clothing as well. My manager sent me a message asking to call them about my transfer and her recommendation for the role I am pushing for. I immediately called her and took my camera covering off. She did not answer, so the team's call went to voicemail, of which I declined, and my camera light turned off. Instead she sent me a message that she was busy and would call me back in an hour. I let her know I was out of office to travel to the office for the day and would speak with her once I arrived. She just sent a thumbs up. On a normal day I would turn my computer off after this exchange. Not today though. I didn't want to miss any potential messages, so I began undressing in my room to take a shower. When I took off my bra and underwear I noticed that I had a heavy amount of dust on top of my breasts, underneath my breasts and all over my stomach. I bent forward, grabbed my breasts, and started shaking them to get the dust off. I literally was doing some kind of aggressive attack on my breasts like they owed me money. I reached forward to grab my broom and see my manager had somehow joined the call and my camera miraculously turned back on. I grabbed my laptop as quickly as possible to shut it and sent a couple of "I'm so sorry, I didn't know I was in a call" messages to my manager. She responded as if she saw nothing and that it's just so weird how she called and it immediately connected. The log says we were in a call for 1 minute and 2 seconds, so it means she saw something. I am mortified and have taken the remainder of the day off to sit in silence in the dark. I shall wait for the email from HR. On a positive note, today I learned that if you don't physically close the decline call voice page on new Teams, if someone calls you back it immediately reopens the call. Today I messed up by telling everyone I was in my boxers. I was on a work call with my full team, my boss and my boss's boss. I am working from home today and it is something I am not used to. So I sometimes forget to wear trousers when I am moving around the house and then sit down at my desk as it is much more comfy. We don't put cameras on during calls anyway. I was about to start my full team call but there was a lull at the start, so I said I needed to grab a coffee before starting. I ran downstairs and forgot I left the curtains open so everyone on the street could see me running about in my pants while going to the kitchen. I laughed about it on the way back and was still laughing when I sat back down. Someone asked me what I was laughing about and I forgot the situation I was in. As I was at home I thought I was talking with my wife or friends on the phone, so I just said I forgot to close the curtains downstairs. Why is that funny? I was asked. Well, I'm not wearing trousers so the neighbors might have caught me in my pants, I said. I was still finding it funny when I was then asked, why are you not wearing trousers on this call? Can you go offline and put someone and then rejoin? My heart cracked. Head froze, just logged off and did as I was told. No one said a thing to me the full hour. Sweat was streaming off me in panic. That was 9 a.m. this morning. I have a meeting with my boss tomorrow now and it stipulates cameras are mandatory.